Alright, thank you very much for clicking on the video. This is Gulpain, back with another quick Resident Evil Relaxation. And today we're having a look at Resident Evil 1.5. So this was the prototype for Resident Evil 2. But then it was decided that this wasn't good enough. So it was basically, I think there was something like 60% complete or something like that anyway. And then they put, Capcom weren't happy with it. Is it Inafune? Is that the guy? No, that's Castlevania guy. The Shinji Mikami, the Resident Evil guy. He wasn't happy with it apparently. And I don't think he likes doing sequels anyway. But yeah, had to go back, and then we got rid of Elza Walker, and then we got Claire Redfield instead. So this is an emulation of the game. The ROM of the ROM was dumped ages ago, basically online, and I think a lot of people, some people have actually taken the ROM and basically made it like into a playable game. And this is one of the versions of the playable version. Obviously, because I'm playing it here. Some of them are broken, I think, but this one you can basically get as far as the development went, and then I don't think you can get any further. So I don't think it's possible to complete this version here. I believe there is some people that are trying to, or that have basically made the rest of the game. I might be getting it conflated with that copy of Resident Evil 2, but there's quite a lot of hacks of Resident Evil 2 where Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1, where basically like it's a different story or different characters. You can play as Marvin in one of them. Another one you can play as as Mr. X, which I thought was really good. So this one anyway, I picked Eliza obviously because Leon's pretty much the same. There's a lot of like different areas in this, and the status screen looks fantastic. I really like where they have the driver's license as the sort of the character portrait, because I don't like when they took the character portrait away from the kind of the menu screen when you go to like look at your weapons and files and stuff. I really liked when they had the character portrait on it, so that's really cool. The driver's license thing is from Resident Evil 1, because I remember when you're picking not Claire, when you're picking Chris or Jill, it's their like IDs that you pick, which I thought was a nice touch. And in this one, it's their driver's license or ID or something anyway. It looks pretty cool though. It just adds a bit more kind of, character or flair to the status screen, the status screen. So yeah, you can pick up stuff. I don't think in this version that I'm playing here that you can actually kill the zombies, because I've put a lot of rounds into these zombies, and when I was just having a go at this, and they did not go down, they kept getting back up, so no point in doing it. But yeah, the backgrounds look great. So you start off in a lot of these I don't these are definitely not in the Resident Evil retail version that we got. The character model of Eliza looks really good actually. You can tell that she's like, obviously some of the backgrounds, she's actually in front of some of the backgrounds, you can see it there, but you can tell that she's like, they wanted to make her like a biker character, which Claire kind of was as well, because not really, because she comes in on a bike and she's got the old the jacket with the picture on the back of it. But yeah, so this girl is wearing like a full sort of motocross kind of outfit, I think anyway. And yeah, she plays much the same. Obviously Leon and Claire, they play the same anyway. I don't think there's any difference between them. Like with speed or how many hits they can take, there might be. They might have different hit points or different speed, I'm not sure, but I don't really know much about that. But yeah, a lot of these areas were scrapped. Apparently they weren't detailed enough, or it wasn't it was too similar to the first game for them to, or for the developers or the boardroom or whatever didn't like it, because back in the olden days you'd have to have like a sequel. Well, you wouldn't have to, but a lot of the sequels that were quite successful were kind of, they weren't exactly the same as the first game, or they weren't very, very similar to the first game. They were kind of they're kind of doing their own thing, like the obvious examples like Mario 1 and 2, but that was different because by the time Nintendo got popular in the 80s in the United States, like I think Mario 2 was already out in Japan. So they, I think, and then when Mario 1 hit Japan and Europe, then, Mario 2 in Japan was kind of, I think it was a year old or something. So it looked It looked the same, but it was too similar to the first one. So I don't think it was anything to do with it was too hard. That's why I didn't bring it over. But I think it was basically that it was just kind of too similar to the first game. So it was decided a new game was to be brought out. Doki Doki Panic, obviously we all know that. That's not new. Similar like Castlevania, Castlevania 1, Simon's Quest as well. Even some of the Final Fantasy games, like they're the next game in the series is like very different. And Resident Evil 1, I think Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 are very similar, but Resident Evil 2 is a lot better. There's a lot more sort of kind of puzzles and stuff, I think anyway, but there's a lot more detail, and the graphics are significantly better in Resident Evil 2 than in Resident Evil 1. Even with like the kind of the cinemas that they do, the kind of the cutscenes, which were always a treat back in the olden days, but today not so much. You kind of skip past the cutscenes today. But yeah, this one I think I had to speed it up a little bit because the it wasn't running that well. The zombies were sort of like, I don't know what was going on, but as you can see here, it's not actually running perfect because the zombies are coming out over the wall there, and they will not stay down. These are like legitimately undead zombies. They won't stay down. They keep getting back up. They won't even go down when you put a bullet to the head. These are not the Romero zombies. These are some super zombies from I don't know. They haven't been classified yet. But yeah, the text is the same, and the character models. A lot of the character models, they look very similar. Obviously, Leon's is very similar. I think he's a little bit more detailed in the finished game. But yeah, it's awesome. Like, because I'm such a fan of I'm such a mark for Resident Evil 2 on the PS1 and the remake. But it's great to see, like, the other parts of the police department that they sort of like had mapped out, but they didn't put in the final game. Like this one here with the firing range. Just going to check everything here. This one here, the firing range. That is, I'm just trying to think of the geography of the police station. I think that would be in, it seems to me this would be in the basement if it was, but I think you start out in the basement here because you're in the parking lot. Well, the very small police parking lot, and you are in the parking lot in I don't want to say the real Resident Evil 2 because this is sort of like I don't know, some of the rooms in this could actually be like canon in the actual game, but who knows. But it's interesting to see them. I'm not sure if I'm getting mixed up with a different game, but I'm sure there's some sort of like a shooting room in a different game. I know obviously the new, I might be confusing it with the new Resident Evil film as well. The I can't remember what it's called, but like it's got basically like Jill from Resident Evil 3 remake. Looks exactly like Resident Evil 3 remake Jill, but then all the other characters are like, they look like they're characters from the Resident Evil movies. So it doesn't make any sense. It's like Jill is transported from the games into like the cinematic like CGI Resident Evil films. Leon looks the same as in Resident Evil 6, whereas Jill is her remake Jill. So yeah, it's kind of strange. But oh, there's a diary. So this was interesting to read as well. I'm not sure if this was in the finished game either. Chris's diary. I know in you get Jill's diary, right? So maybe Chris's diary is in Resident Evil 2 as well. So here's another nice area. Sort of it's not a jail cell. Ooh, the pliers. That's a different item than is in the real game as well. Or maybe there is a pliers in the real game. Does Claire not get a pliers? I can't remember. So here's Eliza interacting with Sherry for the first time. So if this was the finished game, you basically meet Sherry after only a few minutes, which is not the way to. I think you don't meet Sherry until ages into the game in the in real Resident Evil 2, because you meet Leon first. So it doesn't seem like Leon and Eliza were interacting much, or they didn't have them interacting much. That's one thing I kind of wanted to happen more, was Leon and Claire in the remake interacting more, but they just ignored it. So I don't know. So there's a police car on a hoist. So that's interesting as well. Don't think I can win there, actually. No, I can't. yeah, so a few new areas. They are kind of sparse though. It does look like a police station, obviously, but it doesn't look as like this looks like an actual police station. Whereas the police station we got was like a museum or something, or not museum like, but it's a well, I think it was a converted museum. So that's kind of explains like the elaborate architecture and how it's how it's not. It doesn't look like a police station, but it is a police station. But how it's more sort of like picturesque. So here's an example here of if I didn't have my controls about me or my wits about me. I did get used to the tank controls because I just played Resident Evil 1 there recently, so I was actually used to the tank controls. Otherwise, or I find if some of the emulators when you're trying to play the old Resident Evil games, you know, they're quite sticky and the frame rate drops, and you know, the tank controls are quite difficult to control or to use to control. So this area completely cut. I'd love to see. I'm sure someone has done it online of like a map of this police station in comparison to, you know, the police station from Resident Evil 2. So I think I got as far as I could get in this version as well. I got basically to the 3 floors and I checked every door, and I just sort of finished off in like the large area where all of the kind of the police have their offices. So like the place where Marvin is in the real game, I think that's where I finished off here. But I don't know how to go around. I think I tried to actually kill some of these guys, but then this is where I realized this area here. I thought I could kill them the first time I played it, but then you can't. So I'm just checking around here to see if there's anything I can interact with. There's not that much, although it is a nice area. Like you can see here, there's a lot of destruction, and this would explain how you another kind of way you can't get out of the police station, because the police station Resident Evil 2, it's like you got the front door and then you got the sort of the back with the stairs, but you can't. It doesn't have the sense of scale. This is giving you like the sense of scale that the police station is big, and then there's blockages, so you can't actually exit. And obviously, like here, some of the areas like are, you know, that's obviously this area here is very undetailed. It's too dark as well. But yeah, some of the areas are like what I noticed was the zombies were just kind of, they were walking over the background, so it was really clear that it wasn't a 3D background, that it was a 2D background. But the angles are awesome here. This looks really good, and it's nice when the character is up close to the camera. I always kind of remember those sort of areas, like the Dutch angles and stuff. So here's another area, but again, it's like it's very realistic. So yeah, you know, it's really kind of, it's not like a video game at all. It's just kind of, and here's the prison area. So there's an awful lot of backgrounds here that were rendered and done, and then just weren't used at all. I'm surprised they didn't even like just make another game and just use these backgrounds in another game, because it seems a shame to just get rid of them all. Maybe they did and I just didn't play the game. So this prison area, there doesn't seem to be anything down here either. I only picked up a few items, apart from bullets and stuff and first aid sprays, but I only picked up a few items which likely were intended to be used for things. But like, it seems that you can go to far more areas like straight away in this version than you can in the final game, because I know you're not really locked into an area, but you're kind of locked into an area because you don't have the key, so you can't really go many places. So there's not really an opportunity to get lost, but you do have to backtrack a lot. But this one, it seems very open. I'm sure they would have added in later, you know, sort of like keys and stuff and different things. So I got pliers and another thing, but yeah, there's another area upstairs that I explored later, but it's just like an office area. So okay, so that's a bit of Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 1.5. So if you've had a go at this, let me know in the comment section below. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.